Coming at you live from DNHQ in beautiful South Pasadena, California. This is Blue Heaven Podcast. You are now home with Dodgers Nation and Jim Beam. Please drink responsibly. We're clapping hands. We're excited. We're also kind of sad, you know, this news, this thing's happening. But I'm happy because I got the legendary DMac_LA over there. I'm Real FRG on Twitter and Instagram. Doug, welcome back. You're back in the zone. I know you had a loving family vacation over the weekend.
What?
Let's talk Dodger baseball. Cody's on the board over there. More on Cody in a bit.
Bellinger.
A successful road trip. Dodgers running away with this division. Excited to talk some Dodger baseball. Got some bad news to dive into, but lots to get into. I mean, you got lots to feel good about if you're a Dodger fan right now, but not everything has been figured out before this postseason run. I think in seasons past, Clint, really we kind of knew where we were at this stage. Lots of things could happen at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we feel pretty confident about them going to the postseason. Feel pretty confident about where a lot of guys are heading, but there are some things we're going to talk about in 3 Up, 3 Down that is coming up a little bit later in the show. We do have to talk about the breaking news. Yes, there's TJ coming up for the Catman. Tony Gonsolin will undergo the knife. Will have season ending and potentially 2024 ending Tommy John surgery on September 1st. There's also just overall pitcher stuff is what I'm going to call it. And Scott Boras spoke on behalf of Cody Bellinger. And Cody said some interesting things to our friend of the show, Bob Nightingale of USA Today. Before we talk about all that, I got to remind you again, you guys are doing great at subscribing. That means so damn much to us. If you do subscribe, get us to 70,000 subscribers. We're giving away a Mookie Betts jersey. It's real. It's got the 50 on the front, 50 on the back. I hear that guy's pretty good. Might be the National League MVP this year. I'm just saying, throwing it out there. So, and then we know a lot of you watch the show and aren't subscribed. If you just subscribe, it's going to be the same thing, and it helps us out in the algorithms. Get us that boost. Do it for Buddy. He's over in the back. He's having a day. He's feeling good. Noel's not here, so he's stepping up and really locking himself in for justice here in this office. So again, subscribe, 70,000 subscribers, and if we get there, the sooner we get there, we could give away maybe like 87 jerseys or maybe 2. We'll figure it out. But yeah, let's dive into the show. The breaking news: Tommy John set for Tony Gonsolin, the Catman, likely out for all of 2024. September 1st, undergoes a knife. Dr. Neil Elatrash. That's the guy you want to go to. Doug, give us some immediate reactions here.
It's unfortunate. It felt like it was a formality. We knew it was coming. Now, the only important thing is him getting healthy, him crushing that rehab and getting back out there on the mound. And yeah, like we talked about in the last few episodes, it really was commendable when you looked at the Dodgers situation where they were dealing with so many injuries. They needed someone to take the ball and eat innings. And unfortunately, I think you have to talk about the split change. And when your best pitch is a pitch that really takes its toll on your arm, it feels like this is inevitable. Like the GM of the Oakland A's, Brad Pitt, likes to say, there's 2 types of pitchers. There's pitchers that have had Tommy John and pitchers that are going to have Tommy John. And
it was coming.
In the velo revolution that we're in, it's just a part of the game. It's unfortunate. And I think this year, kind of one of the other factors that I've been monitoring this entire season is, look, when you have the incentives that he had in his contract, he made himself an extra $2 million with how many games he's pitched. So, yeah, he was trying to get out there to make himself a bag to help his team win. But for him to be effective, we need to see a 95, 96 mile per hour fastball occasionally. He's a guy that really can have diminished stuff and go out there and help his team win. So, yeah, it's going to be a long process, but I think, like you mentioned, Dr. Neil Elatrach, he's the best in the business, and if anyone can get him back on the mound, it's going to be him. And I think he still could be an asset for this team. I said in the last show, it almost feels like when you look at the talent coming out, the Sheehan's, the Groves, even the Gavin Stones, who has looked a lot better, Bobby Miller, it does feel like he could be a guy that's almost a Ross Stripling where he's solid, but does he have a role for this team? Do you look to trade him and maybe even opportunity for another team that needs pitching?
Yeah. So I'm going to focus a little bit on the Gonsolin situation because we know we've heard about it for honestly most of the season. Like, he's not bouncing back well. Something isn't right. Dave Roberts had talked off and on about it. They've been, as they usually do, real close to the vest, kind of gatekeepery about their news and notes. I mean, essentially, you assume they knew this yesterday in Boston. But they're like, Dave did Dave things. He's not going to really throw the news out there for some reason. I guess they wanted to save it for today at home. But you wonder, how bad was this injury? How much could it have hurt him more for the future? Like, did he hurt himself more trying to pitch through this, or did he know, like, were they being like, cool about the idea of getting him to that 20 start mark, get him that money, knowing that next year is kind of a wash? So there's some questions. I'm sure we're going to get some answers out of it. Not very many. The Dodgers don't give out that much information, but either way, I mean, we like Tony. Tony's a good option. He's a good dude, and it's a tough situation for him, but you hope that they're nipping this in the bud at the right time and he can come back 2025 and be stronger than ever, because we've seen this guy for the greater part of his career be dominant. This year was not so much, and it became pretty damn obvious that there was something wrong with the Catman.
Exactly, Clinton. Last year we saw when Walker Buehler was out there on the mound, the velo was down, the command was down. It's not just the velo, it's also the velo plus the command, and you saw him struggle in both those departments. And I think for Tony Gonsolin, he's someone that he realizes the process of, okay, I'm someone who's a converted outfielder. I'm someone that really has realized the dream of being a big league all-star. And look, the reality, Clint, is he's not a bad pitcher. He's a pitcher that was pitching through an injury. And at full strength, I still think he's a number 4 or number 5 starter in Major League Baseball. And guess what, kids at home? That is accomplishment. That is the dream. That is
rotations
exceeding expectations. So, yeah, I mean, for people to say he's trash, he's this and that, look, I mean, he's going to go to the vet. His 9 lives are up, and he's got to fix that arm and get back to it. And I think the Cat Daddy is going to be just fine. I think for this year, for this team, it's really interesting. I think you mentioned, I want to kind of circle back to what you said about, did he hurt his arm? Now, Dave was pretty adamant. I was at that game in the press conference, and he said, look, the reason why we kept giving the ball and running him out there is we felt like it would not increase the risk of injury, would not further damage his arm. And you would have to believe that they probably knew that going in, but it also felt like, look, if I'm a pitcher out there and you look at the state of Major League Baseball, it almost feels like an inevitability. So might as well go out there until the wheels fall off, because it's not like he was in line for another contract, right? He just signed that extension. He's still under team control for multiple seasons. I don't think I see there's a narrative out there saying, oh, the Dodgers, they should have traded Tony Gonsolin, right? Well, look, here's the thing. This Dodgers organization, they're in the business of making trades. Part of their model for success is developing prospects, not only to use them as key contributors, but also as trade chips. And you don't want to sell off those damaged goods, right? You don't want to sell that car that's a lemon, right, and have it come back to you. So I think for them in this situation, they realize this probably was something. And look, if anything, this organization, they've shown patience. They know the deal. Dustin May, Walker Buehler. I mean, there's so many examples that, hey, we can get you back on track. It's just only a matter of time. But it's just unfortunate because he just can't stay out there on the mound. Maybe this will be the final thing where he's still pretty young, where if he comes back, he can still have 3-4 solid years and still make a career out of this.
He still has an opportunity to go out there and get himself his next big contract. The final big contract maybe of his year, but or of his career, but he has that opportunity. You mentioned the Dodgers kind of knowing something. I think in hindsight, we could look at the structure of that contract he signed or the contract they agreed to in the offseason, where it was kind of tiered. There was incentives. It was, based on how much he was going to pitch. They knew there was something a little off about that arm because, hey, he hadn't undergone Tommy John surgery yet, and you knew that's coming up at some point. I also have to note, very importantly, about 15 minutes before the show, I sent Noah a Slack over here, and I said, I got $1 on Doug saying something about Gonsolin and 9 lives. So nailed it. I know Doug McCain.
The great Catsby. Look, hey, I actually hate myself, and I'm not afraid to admit this, but you guys know I said that it felt like at some point this season we would see Tony Gonsolin and Dr. Neil Elitroch in a tweet. I hate that. I felt like I manifested this, but look, I mean, when you watch these guys on a daily basis, you don't go from pretty solid to bad overnight. It usually is because of something physical, and that's why I wasn't too hard on Tony Gonsolin. That's why I felt like, look, this was more something physical than this guy, I mean, not sequencing pitches correctly or anything like that. And look, the reality is his money pitch is one that takes its toll on your arm. So, yeah, he's going to be fine. I think, too, like clarity-wise, Clint, I mean, the fact that this is occurring now and you're not kicking the can down the road and saying, oh, we're going to do treatment and PRP and this and that, I think it puts him in a good spot to say, okay, let's further evaluate some of these guys. Ryan Pepio has looked good. Gavin Stone had his best appearance of the year. Even Michael Grove, we don't talk about that often, out of the bullpen as in a piggyback situation, he could be an option as well. So I think just giving us some clarity as to how this rotation and this bullpen picture is going to shake out for the postseason, I think it helps them from that standpoint. But yeah, it's something that it just feels like, can this guy go wire to wire and finish the season at full strength? I don't know if we're ever going to see it.
I don't know if we're going to see that. Like, looking at this with the Michelada half full, it doesn't really affect this season because we all kind of saw the writing on the wall. Like, this guy is not going to be a postseason rotation starter. Bobby Miller essentially leapfrogged him in the rotation, the top 4 of the rotation there. So barring injury, of course, so knock on desk there. So it doesn't affect the season too much. It does suck, but again, at least it's happening now, and it's not like the Shohei situation where that's getting the can's getting pushed, kicked down the road or whatever. Which I guess we haven't even talked about the Shohei injury, but I think you did a dugout about that. So watch that on the YouTube. Subscribe while you're there. Dodgers Nation TV. Cody, what are the fine people saying in the audience? And let me know where I'm looking.
A lot of people, you're still looking at.
Hi.
A lot of people are talking about how they should have traded Gonsolin while his value's still high.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, hoping that Gonsolin gets healthy and everything. And then I think I saw a question about who kind of replaces or gets his spot in the rotation. I guess you guys kind of semi-answer that too as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to be postseason-wise, and we've already talked a lot about the postseason rotation of late, but that's Bobby Miller. And in the immediate, you're probably going to see Ryan Pepio, who I read something. I forgot who. I don't know who to attribute it to. I forgot who said it, but I think he's back in Arizona right now. Like, they're working on either some sort of pitch or whatever it is, because he's still getting used to that. His off speed, his secondary stuff right now. But that's all we got to say about it. More reactions, more news will be dropping from the team. Dave Roberts, he's doing his daily meeting with the media. It should be pretty much wrapped up now, so we'll find out more. But in the interim, let's move on. Let's talk about more things that have happened already with this team. Had a decent road trip. He took 4 of 6 on the 6-game roadie. Mookie returns to Boston. This is 3 up, 3 down now, by the way, guys. So 3 of the up, 1 of them. Mookie takes Boston, becomes the new NL MVP frontrunner, and that's just by the odds, not just by our hearts and what Dave Roberts wants. But Mookie he's on a different planet right now, man.
Mookie's unreal. He's continuing his success, and he's continuing to make his case for the National League MVP. To me, he's the best player in the sport right now because Shohei Ohtani's not on the mound, and I think Mookie Betts is a guy that's deserving of that award. And I think that the more success he puts together, and you got this big series with the Atlanta Braves, if he continues to hit anywhere near this for the next 2-3 weeks, I think he's going to lock down that award. I mean, you look at his production at the plate, he's been absolutely absurd. He had 16 hits in 26 at-bats last week. He had 4 doubles. He had that big home run against the Red Sox over the monster. Oh, the green. Let me hear your Boston accent.
You want to go pocket wicked cow over the monster?
Pocket cow.
Mookie, you can't do it.
The monster. The monster.
You
monster.
got to have Nomad. Like, Nomad is the perfect
Nomad.
Boston kind of guy,
I like that.
He's wicked. He hit the ball wicked fast.
Boston.
Nomad's better.
But yeah, I
It's
mean,
a really bad accent. Was that a try?
I wasn't trying to.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, over the
Cody,
last week,
you
look
got
at this.
something.
Slashing 615, 655, 885, 9 runs scored, 7 RBI in those 6 games. He had 2 3-hit games, finished the series against the Red Sox with that monster game. I mean, this guy's an absolute. I mean, the 5-hit game against the Guardians. He has 11 multi-hit games.
He's going
in his
off.
last 14. What more can you say?
7 hits in 24-hour span there in Cleveland. He ran through Cleveland. He ran through Boston.
He also said he's getting swole too. He got swole in the offseason.
Telling Kirsten he's getting swole, and it's showing. He's not wearing down. He's now up to hitting 315 on the season.
315.
Arguably, I don't know if it's better than his MVP season in 2018. He doesn't want to say that, but you look at the numbers, it's kind of better than his 2018 season.
I think he's absolutely trending that
month.
way. And I think, too, when you look at the home run ball, the way it's valued, you look at his versatility, what he was able to do for this team, especially when you consider their offensive lulls, really, he's picked it up every single time. They had an issue, you go to Mookie Betts. And also, just in August, a 260 weighted runs created plus. So he's 160% better than league average. 8 bombs, hitting 464. And I think there's no question he's the best player in the National League. I think he's already passed Ronald Acuna Jr. Said it 2 months ago. Braves fans, they were after me. Blah, blah, blah. Stolen bases, blah, blah, blah. Talking about running. Now it is like the freeze in Atlanta, right? And Acuna Jr. was the random fan. Mookie is freeze. Pass him up. He's got that pole position for the MVP award.
Great
and
tweet.
He was absolutely made the favorite by Caesar's Palace at minus 135. He is the favorite officially. And Mookie said, Clint, it'd be cool to win. It'd be super cool. I'd be lying if I said it wouldn't be cool, but the number one thing is winning the World Series, winning the division, and playing well.
But you gotta love Marcus Lynn Betts. He stays saying the right things every time. Also, shout out at Noah Cameras. He said it's the most valuable player, not the most valuable stolen baser. Is that what you said? Something about there. So follow at Noah Cameras. You can't get him to 5 followers.
You can't steal first base, right? You cannot steal first base. And Mookie,
Ronald Acuna is having a phenomenal year for sure, but the numbers have tapered. As where Mookie picked the best time to have a great series. All eyes were on Mookie back in Boston, and he showed out. He showed up. He showed out. He did everything right in Boston, and he put himself right there at the top of that MVP vote, not only in Vegas, but more importantly in the eyes of the voters, because they're stupid. And they look at things
that's
like,
what I'm worried about.
Mookie played real good in Boston, MVP.
Yeah,
and he's got a month. He's got a month to keep it going.
But I think you bring up a good point. As far as it is a campaign, it is a true race. And when you have these races, it's those moments, it's those narratives. And I think having a big series the way he did in Boston, the big ovation, getting a little bit emotional. There's pretty much the glass you ever see his eyes in a moment like that. The fact that you have the Jet Passes of the world tweeting out information, those things matter. I also, too, want to point out, I love what Mookie's saying, as you mentioned, as you pointed out, that, he's always saying the right things, right? Winning the World Series, winning the division. But no, winning the MVP matters. Becoming the first guy since Frank Robinson to win.
That does mean something, absolutely.
The MVP in both the leagues, the obvious one. Also, just the 19th player in history to win multi-MVPs, would be the 15th MVP in Dodgers franchise history. I think it'd be massive. And like I said, the reality is, if you look at Ronald Acuna Jr. and Mookie Betts, and you don't read their names, and you just read their statistics, Mookie Betts has had a better season. I mean,
Mookie Betta,
exactly. A 7.3 F4 to Ronald Acuna's 6.2. Weighted runs created plus. Mookie's at 173. Acuna Jr.'s at 162. He is slipping. Mookie is just better. It's like, forgot about Dre. Eminem had the best verse, right? Forever, Eminem had the best verse. His verse has been better this year. He's got that main character energy. That's why he has 35 Denzel Washingtons on the year, and I think that he is going to cement this MVP award. I think it's a statement against the Braves. He's going to show the world that Marcus Lynn Betts is the best player in the National League.
And importantly, Braves coming to town this weekend. This is where an MVP can be won or lost. Because let's not forget Freddie Freeman and Mark Olson or Matt Olson. I don't know, Mark. I keep following my boys at MLB on Facts, and they always put Mark Olson. So I'm just gonna call him Mark Olson. Love those guys. It's all lies. But hey, hit that thumbs up button. Because we know 400 thumbs up, 400 likes on this video, Doug's going to do a shoey because he's a sick monster.
400, I will do a shoey.
But also because Mookie Betts deserves to be the MVP. Cody, what you got for me?
We have a super chat. Oh, it's not on here.
I think Gary might have cut that because we had.
Shout out to you, Pitbull.
Wait, that's who gave us the super chat? It was Pitbull?
Yes, sir.
All right.
We have Seth Gerbil.
What up, Seth Gerbil? He's always rocking with us.
It went somewhere.
Seth Gerbil says for $4.99, Mookie for MVP and Padres are officially dead. Not a bad week.
Hey, can we talk about the Padres for a second? All right.
Always down talking about Padres.
Before the season, I definitely picked the Padres because that's what you were supposed to do. And also, I'm a monster, and I'm like, I don't like to be hurt. I'm not going to say it's the Dodgers, and I'm going to get let down. I'm just going to go with the Padres. It was the popular pick, but my God, are they falling apart? Like Bob Melvin is just like, dude, there's no point in even looking at the standings anymore. You got Manny Machado beating the shit out of a damn, cooler box or a cooler bubble gum or whatever in the dugout. It's all bad there, man. And, it's tough to see, but also,
Exactly, right? That's the reaction. I think if you're this Padres team, they're learning the hard way how difficult it is to have sustainable winning. And you cannot go out there and buy a World Series team. You can buy the big names and the big brands, but it's on the margins. It's the depth that wins, especially in the regular season. That's why the Dodgers win. That's why they have the formula and the code to win the regular season, because you have that 25th, 26th man. You have the Peraltas and Haywards and guys towards the bottom of that lineup contributing, as well as being able to scout guys, develop guys. I mean, look, finding a Brian Brazier and guys like that during the season, that's what you don't see in San Diego. Yeah, you can open up that checkbook and sign guys. Guess what? Dodgers can do that every time. They have all the money, all the resources, right? But, I mean, look,
championship seasons are not won in November and December. They're won in the middle of the season with the moves you make, 100%.
exactly, 1,000,000,000%. And you look at
Take that to the bank.
Petco and everything they had, like I said in the last show, enjoy that NLDS win, because that is all you have. Because Petco has already been turned to a Spirit Halloween Superstore, and we're in not even in September yet. I mean, they're going to go down as one of the most disappointing teams in the regular season ever. And guess what? The Dodgers went down last year as one of the most disappointing teams in the postseason ever. That's just the facts with that. So, look, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it rides through that Lakers team with Nash and Dwight Howard and this and that. The Sports Illustrated cover, you thought they were going to win, but you just never know. And yeah, the Clippers, I mean, they're like I said, they're the Murphy's Law of Major League Baseball. What can go wrong will go wrong. This feels very Clipperish for me, the kind of what they're going through this season. And it just kind of goes to show, like I said, we are very, very spoiled. I don't know about you guys. Everyone always said, oh, the regular season, it means nothing. You can win all the regular season, and the October choke job is going to be coming. Guess what? I loved driving here today and thinking about my Dodgers winning yesterday. That stuff gives me warm and fuzzy feelings every time. I love winning whenever it is, and I think just having a good, solid season and giving yourself a chance at the crapshoot that is the postseason is what you want to do every year. And, yeah, I'm very concerned kind of on a deeper level. I think this is bad for baseball, Clint, because I think smaller market teams out there, they're going to be very reluctant to spend, because now they see this is the cautionary tale. The Padres, the little engine that could small market Padres, went out there and spent big bucks, and they're not even going to crack the postseason.
Yeah, but the problem with that wasn't what they spent. This wasn't going to be all, this is just us riffing right now, but it wasn't that about where they spent the money or them spending too much money or whatever. It's how they're allocating their resources around the organization. And, in reality, I know something about the Padres, and we've seen what the Padres have done over the last really since AJ Preller got in the mix. The things he does do not work. You can't just get a bunch of things, names, and go all in for one season and expect it to work. It didn't then. It's not now. The 21 team was not the 21. The 22 team was a little bit better because it did have a little more heart, and then they tried to supplement that or make it better instead of supplementing it, really, and it didn't work out. But I guess that's what's in.
That's what's in. There you go. That is what is in. And I think you bring up a good point, too. Baseball gods, they don't like ugly. That Clayton Kershaw is still real. That'd be the first thing I would do after the season I was the Padres. I would identify whose idea that was and fire them on the spot. Then I would try to give the entire team ringworm and hopefully get whatever tattoos on. I mean, they got to do something down in San Diego
because they're not devout believers in Christianity.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, baseball guys don't like ugly. They did not like that move right there. So
also, random fact about the Boston series that I learned was apparently Dave Roberts stole a base one time.
One time.
Ooh.
Back before you were born.
Back before I was born.
He stole a base. It was a big base. He liked big base, and he could not lie. Everybody was aware. Were you watching that game, the Dave Roberts stolen base game?
Are you actually questioning the king of LA?
Listen, I don't know, man. Maybe he was just going around, patrolling Santa Monica.
I was a bigger loser then. Then I would just straight up never leave the crib ever.
At DMAC _
But
LA.
I mean, I remember Clint.
Great comment, by the way. I got to throw this in here. Nando 390 says Machado still went 1 for 4 against the Cooler.
That was so good. 5. Yeah, I mean it feels. I mean, what is the date separation between this meltdown and last year? It feels like it's pretty close, but yeah, I mean, what can't go wrong will go wrong. But yeah, that stolen base, it's one of the great moments in Game 4 of the 2004 ALCS.
All right. Apparently, Dave Roberts stole a base one time.
One of the greatest comebacks in MLB history. First team to come back down 3-0.
Rivera was on the mound.
We'll see you tomorrow night. I think that was that one. No, that was a different one. That was
do you think
the Rangers.
Do you think Dave could still steal a base?
Absolutely not.
Shout out to Dave Roberts.
Funny question. Yeah, during just so we don't have all inside jokes on this show, Clint. We were at
Really?
Dodgers fan face.
Really?
I was trying to butter
Some
up.
things
They
can
call
be
it
laughed
fan
at.
face. Is there a guide for that?
I was trying to butter up Dave Roberts, and I said, "Hey, Dave, with the new bases, you have one of the most iconic." I told him he had the most important stolen base
You guys
in
could find it on
baseball
YouTube.
history. Do you think he could steal a base now? And he looks at us and he's like, "Absolutely not," which we embellished significantly. And
All right, guys.
Wait.
Thanks for
Dave
thanks for-
Roberts stole a
All right,
base.
let's move on. This
this
was
is his fault.
There's gonna be so much we need to cut from this whole thing. But Mookie good. I wouldn't say Freddie better, but Fab Five Freddie passes Sean Green on is it the franchise or just the LA record right now? Anyways, my dude hit 50 stolen bases. Sorry, that's not Acuna. He hit 50 doubles. He got his 50th double off the monster there in Boston, and passed Sean Green on he had 49. I don't know if it would help if I remembered if this is the all-time franchise record.
So,
but
yeah.
there's a lot of doubles, and he's got a month to go, and he is honestly in the midst of an all-time great season.
He is, and yeah, he just has one more guy in front of him, a guy named Johnny Frederick from back in 1929, hit 52 doubles. I was there, yeah. So a couple more to catch him and pass
Loser.
him. And you're talking about a guy who last year hit 50 doubles. He was outstanding. That was in 129 games, 588 plate appearances. I feel like I'm reading off a Noah Cameras tweet here. And 50, that's this year, 50 doubles in 129 games, 588 plate appearances. Last year, he had 47 in 159 games, 708 plate appearances. So he has steamrolled past last year's pace. He is going to be the first guy to hit 60 doubles since 1936. And he's someone that, he doesn't take a backseat to anyone. His approach at the plate, using off fields, never deviating from his routine, never deviating from his mechanics and approach. And he's someone that is such a pure hitter, and it's a joy to watch. I want to get your take, though, on Tony Gwynn. And do you hear Dave Roberts said that he's the modern-day Tony Gwynn?
I understand the idea of that's a miss from Dave for me. Just because that's Tony F and Gwynn, man. Like, Freddie doesn't have batting title. Tony Gwynn had 8, which is pretty damn good, actually, Hall of Fame type numbers. Just differences in strikeouts and all of that. Freddie, very good. The modern, where I will agree, I understand what he's trying to say, but like, it's tough to hear, and I think it adds unnecessary potential for unnecessary scrutiny just because like, oh, let's leave the Padres alone or whatever it is. But I'm rambling here. I understand it. Yeah, modern day for what you can get in this game, different pitchers, different style, just overall different game of baseball being played. Sure, modern day, but not Tony Gwynn for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same reaction you had. I mean, I think he's the one guy who you see, and in basketball, I say a guy's a bucket. Tony Gwynn was a hit. I mean, he was a guy, you go up there, it's a base knock. He played 20 years. He struck out 3 times in a game once. I mean, it's insane. I mean, he had four plus hits in a game 45 times and 34 games in his career with 2+ strikeouts. I mean, his bat to ball was, you can't even compare to anyone today. I mean, he was so special. If you didn't have the strike, he was going to hit 400 in the mid-90s. So I didn't love that one. I also think, too, from a double standpoint, Freddie could say, hey, from a double standpoint, I'm someone that kind of brings that to the table as well. So, yeah, I think as far as hitters go, I think Urias is more Tony Gwynn than really Freddie Freeman is, right? I think if you had to make that direct comparison.
Now, he had a phenomenal start to the season, but my dude's down to 351.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Entering the day.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you just had to talk about modern day hitters. I mean, the most doubles that Tony Gwynn had in a season was 49 back in 97. He had 41 in 93. If you look at Freddie Freeman, he's someone you look at has hit more 38 home runs in a season once. Right, go glove. I mean, the most home runs that Tony Gwynn hit in a season was 17. Tony Gwynn could also. He could go like over 1,000 and still hit over 300. I mean, he has some ridiculous, mind-blowing stats. So very different players, but look, this sentiment also, I understand.
Dudes weren't throwing 98 like everybody wasn't throwing 98 back in 97. I'm just throwing that out there a little bit.
I'm Tony Gwynn. Can you do Tony Gwynn? I love Tony Gwynn's voice.
All right, let's get off the rails now. Where this is not. We're not workshopping our characters
here. I can't see myself.
Well, yeah, something happened. Gary, we need to fix the TV. We can't see ourselves. I gotta look at the monitor behind Cody to kind of see what's going on. Final up. Gotta get a little love to our friend Max Muncy. He's on a little bit of a tear. He had a really good roadie, 296. Had 5 extra base hits, 900 OPS. Yeah, you still want to see maybe a little bit better defense out of the guy, but it's serviceable. But he's looking a little more locked in at the plate. What's your take on where Mr. Maxwell is at right now?
My Max Muncy take is I couldn't be happier for the guy. I mean, both you and I, we talked about him multiple times this offseason. We said that we both said he was going to have a bounce back year, and the number that we really landed on was 30-plus home runs. So I think it's important to mention that he has checked that box off. He's reached that benchmark, and this is someone who, since the A's gave up on him and he put on that Dodgers uniform, he was playing the Mexican leagues, he bounced around, he didn't know if he was going to have a career. They turned him into an all-star, and he's been the most prolific home run hitter. I mean, every single season, save for last year where he was injured, he was coming back from the UCL, and then in 2020 when he had a shortened season where he still was on pace to hit over 30 home runs, he's given you 30 bombs per year. I mean, 2018, 35, 2019, 35, 2021, 36. This year, he hit 30, and he still has plenty of baseball left to play. So I think the main reason why I kind of want to touch on this as well is you can't focus too much on the batting average. I think defense, that's a conversation that I think is the fair point. To me, that's worth discussing because his defense has graded out very poorly, but you can't say, oh, he's a 200 hitter and he's bad. No, this is someone who does a lot that goes beyond just walks. And this is someone who you're talking about, an above average hitter, a 115 OPS plus, and also too among third basemen this year, he's tied for first in home runs. He's second in walks. He's fifth in RBI. His walk percentage is in the 97th percentile. If you look at his hard hit rate, he barrels the ball up 16.5% of the time. That's in the 96th percentile. His average exit velocity, 91.2 miles per hour. His hard hit rate, 47.6%. That's in the 79th and 82 percentile. So when you look at his batted ball stats, they're all above average. And this is also someone that's had a lot of success in the postseason. So yeah, guess what? The Max Muncy bounce back season is here. It's done. He had a bounce back year.
I was literally just about to say the good thing about Max and where he's at, and if he can stay on this trajectory, he's a guy you want in that lineup in the postseason because he's done it, been there, done that. The time he didn't, 21, was hurt. That was a bad postseason. Dodgers not better that postseason.
You got a Max Muncy impression?
I saw. Great comment from Maddie Man 5 Dodge, and I lost it. Oh, he says, if you can do Mike Tyson, you can do Tony Gwynn. So there's your impression.
I'm a boxer, I'm a fighter. Mike Tyson, I'm the best boxer, I'm a fighter.
My defense
Did
is
you break your back?
I broke my back.
Spinal.
All right, let's
really
get it
need
back.
to.
We're gonna knock out the Padres in the division.
Smash that thumbs down button. Please don't
do that.
Noah Syndergaard wants to eat his children. He's a fighter, the boxer.
No. Oh, no.
But yeah, Max having a great year. Honestly, it's nice to see him have it. And I think you bring up the best point. He's dangerous. He's a dangerous hitter, especially in the postseason when it matters most. We're talking about a guy with a game-winning hit, a walk-off in Game 3 of that 2018 World Series, 7 hours and 20 minutes. So
You're a sick F, man. I'm just telling you, you're a sick monster, Doug McCain. Do we want to take our second break, or should we get straight into the down right now? What do you want to do?
let's go into that down. Oh.
I'm talking to my producer here.
Let's go to Mr. Noah.
Oh, hey, I just needed Noah or something, whatever we're calling it.
Thanks, Clint. The Dodgers are finally back home after a long and rainy 6-game road trip on the East Coast. They're welcoming the Arizona Diamondbacks into town, where right-handed pitcher Bobby Miller is taking the mound for the Dodgers against the ace of the Arizona Diamondbacks, Zach Gallen. Now, here are just a few of the many ways that you can make money betting on your favorite Dodgers. The Dodgers are minus 146 on the money line, meaning a $146 bet would win $100 if the Dodgers won. However, on the minus 1.5 run line, the Dodgers are plus 146. Meaning a $100 bet would win $146 for a net total of $246 if the Dodgers win by at least 2 runs. Now, you could also make money betting on specific players, and there's no one hotter in the MLB right now than new NL MVP favorite Mookie Betts. Now, you can bet on Mookie Betts to get at least 2 hits, something he's done in 6 of his last 7 games, and those odds are plus 230, meaning a $100 bet would win $230 for a net total of $330 if Betts gets at least 2 hits tonight. night. Now you can also bet Mookie Betts to hit a home run, and one more home run for him would set a new career high at 36, and those odds are plus 340, meaning a $100 bet would win $340 for a net total of $440 if Mookie Betts homers on Monday night. Now these are just a few of the ways that you can make money watching your favorite Dodgers, and this is just a little sneak peek of a brand new betting show here on the Dodgers Nation YouTube channel that we like to call Get in the Noah. So make sure to tune in every Friday for a brand new betting show talking about the day-to-day stuff, the weekly series, the player prop bets, and the long-term bets, including the NL pennant race, the World Series race, and of course, the MVP and other award races. Back to you, Clint.
So that was Noah Cameras. I don't know where I'm looking at Noah Cameras. What are we calling it again? Need to Noah? Need to know. What is it? Get in the Noah. Sorry, we couldn't hear it. We'll fix that for the next one of these. But yeah, keep an eye out for more from Mr. Noah Cameras as we get closer to the postseason and especially into September. Good stuff out of the man of many tweets. So down, let's get through down quick. This is already a long show, as we do. We love talking. Apparently, we love doing impressions, but we got to talk about Julio Urias. After you promised me, Doug McCain, that he was all the way back. I think you did. I don't know. I didn't listen to the show. He said he was all the way back. He had a stinker in Boston. It's kind of a question mark. It sort of seems asterisky because of that kind of fake ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty much cruising until the wheels kind of fell off towards the end, right? I mean, It wasn't terrible, I think. A lot of people, when they saw that last inning and you give the home run to Duvall, you say, okay, it looks like an ugly outing. I mean, 6 runs and 6 innings of work. You look at that home-away split, a 7.07 ERA away, a 2.23 ERA at home, and you say, okay, this confirms that. But I think with Julio Urias, it wasn't like a light on, light off situation. It's kind of dimming him, right? We're kind of turning that dimmer light on. We're not completely all the way on, but I still think if you look at his pitch mix in that game, he was commanding 4 pitches. You saw that slurve had more vertical break to it. It was a little bit of a different shape than we've seen throughout this season. I think the fastball command definitely was better. And also, just want to point out, too, Fenway Park isn't real, okay? You look at that home run there, and yes, it wasn't a good sequence. There's no doubt about that, but still, that is a home run in 2 places. Boston and Houston, you got the Crawford boxes, and you got the Monster in Fenway Park. So
we're talking about a ballpark that was built in the late 1700s. Like, come on, man. They didn't even have meat back then. Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, these are grown, big, buff boys.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That could just flick a little flick of the wrist, and that's a homer. So the main thing I didn't like, my one concern of it is something Dave Roberts kind of talked about. It's like Julio still shows, like, I don't know, I'm not going to call it an immaturity, but he will check out when something doesn't go his way. And that is a problem when we're looking at, like, I know you want him. You have him as your number 1 starter in the postseason, or did I get it wrong? You're going Kershaw. I said Julio just for the sake of the argument. I don't want my number 1 starter in the postseason. I don't want my opening day starter being that guy that, like, I gave up a homer. I'm not going to care about this next batter. Lock it the F back in right away. Like, these games mean something, and they're going to mean a lot more in about a month.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. I think he's someone that definitely wears his heart on his sleeve. He shows that frustration. You see the way he followed up that home run. He walks Story. He just lost command of that fastball. And usually the frustration leads to poor mechanics, and that's what leads to walks with Julio Urias. So I definitely think that's something he needs to clean up. There's no doubt about that. But I think my big takeaway is it's not like he was getting rocked the entire game.
Yeah,
I mean, he gave the home run to Verdugo. That was a slurve that he just left out over the plate. That's going to happen occasionally.
And Doogie was playing on a heightened level at that point. Like,
yeah, Doogie was feeling it.
Yeah,
for
he's
sure.
trying to show these guys, you messed up. Like, no, the other guy's Mookie Betts. We did not mess up.
Yeah,
And
that's a really good
that's
point.
a direct quote from Andrew Freeman, by the way. It's not.
Yeah, exactly. If you could, hey, Verdugo, why don't you play me? Look, Verdugo, actually, to his credit, he has been an above-average bat. He, of course, Dodgers won that way. We know that.
His problem. He's just not
Yeah,
Mookie
he's
Betts.
not Mookie Betts. He's not a future Hall of Famer. So,
But he's
look,
aware.
It's no fault of his own, but I think the Justin Turner, the fastball, inner half, I don't like the sequencing there. I don't like that call right there. He missed his spot, but still, I mean, we know Justin Turner. We've seen him long enough to know that's his nitro zone. You know that he's going to swing at that pitch. You're going to see that majestic JT swinging. He gave those home runs. But what I always say, people always say the pitcher's best friend is a double play. I always say is missing bats. And in those situations, when you got runners on the corners like he had, right? And you want to get out of that inning unscathed. Well, hey, you got to do it through contact, right? You got to put the ball in play a little bit. You got to get a lazy fly ball. You got to get a ground ball out. The ball's going to be in play, and the more times that happens, it's not rocket science. It's not brain science, right? It's not rocket surgery. Right? There you go. So look, the reality is you put the ball in play, the more times that happens, bad things can occur. So in that situation, I think you need to lock down a little bit. I think, too, you're seeing the fatigue. He's still trying to get to that optimal stamina level. I do think the pitch clock still bothers him to an extent. But look, before that, in 3 starts, a 1.44 ERA, multiple starts where he went 7 innings, I still think he's trending in the right direction. It's just kind of that old adage. Just look, Dave Roberts is damned if he goes out there and takes the ball from a starting pitcher, and then it's vice versa, right? I mean, he was cruising. He was under 70 pitches at the time, but let's also forget, I mean, you're kind of painting the narrative with Verdugo, right, and wanting to prove himself. How about that desperate Boston Red Sox team that is trying not to get swept? They're trying to make the postseason, and Julio's out there trying to compete. So I'm not overly concerned. I still think that things are trending in the right direction. I still have him as my Game 2 starter, and the reason for that is, and the reason why I want to catch the Braves is, I want to see Julio Urias pitch at home. And then you go Game 2 and Game 6 in a 7-game series. He's someone that in the friendly confines of Dodger Stadium, keeping the ball in the yard is paramount. And you go to on the road to a good thing I don't want to see Boston in the playoffs, most likely.
Hey, like I always say, if you want the dub, you got to mitigate the slug.
Exactly,
You can't give up the slug.
Get the T-shirts printed.
And Julio has been known to give up some bomb skis. He's been a little bit better since coming. They got Cody on that one. He's been a little bit better at keeping the ball in the yard, and that's Discovery Zone. If you kids remember what that was back when we were children. Hey,
that was a
DZ.
member berry. That was a member berry.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's synergy, boys. Cody, what are the people saying about Julio? And I'm sure some folks have thoughts on Noah's debut of In the Noah. What was it?
In the
Get in the know.
Riv says Julio has been inconsistent. One start, he has 10 Ks, and the next he gives up 3 to 5 runs. Mike Sodana is in agreement with Doug, says Julio will be fine. I'm playoffs. I don't know what that means exactly. He's the playoffs, I guess. Some people are talking about Verdugo. Boomer Assassin said Julio needs a Tony Robbins life coach crash course translated to Espanol.
That's pretty funny. I like that one. I'm going to make that the Hornito shot taker of the day. Hey, what you know about remembering in the moment that we need a hot shot? So thank you. That was Mike Saldana?
Mike Saldana. No, that was Boomer Assassin.
I like Mike Saldana too, and I like Boomer Assassin. Always bringing the laughs in the chat. Guys, drink responsibly. Drink Hornitos.
O is dead says Julio is a mess. Mike Sodana also said too emotional equals Julio. And then Showtime fan said Scott Boras, Julio Urias is super agent. He will demand more money after this season.
Yeah, well, the money thing, we're going to have a lot of off season to talk about Julio because he's a Boras guy. He's not going to sign before, December.
It's still very much up in the air. I mean,
maybe.
Yeah.
I've seen fingers. You have something exciting?
We have a super chat.
I burped for that. I apologize.
Michael Carrillo, $2 said, these lefties in pen are bad. Will lose us the World Series.
That's why I think you're going to see them go against the grain. They're not going to just play lefty-lefty matchup. I think you could see Brusdar in some situations. Guys that have solid reverse splits, I think they're going to really just go with the best arms. And you talk about some of these young guys that are looking good, and I think they're going to do some things that are unfamiliar to what we've seen in the past. I think you're going to see some surprises with the way they deploy Peace in the bullpen. Because like you said, I mean, look, Caleb Ferguson in the Guardian series. You can't have him going out there and stinking the joint up, right? You can't have Alex Vesia when he's off and his command is off and he's missing his spots. Because the thing with their lefties right now is when they're bad, they're really bad. So the variance is so significant between their good and bad. So I think that's where the issue's in. You throw that in the postseason, a home run here, a home run there, then cost you not only a game, but an entire series. So yeah, I definitely think that is a glaring weakness. And there weren't too many options out there on the open market. Justin Breaux was looking good for the first couple weeks of the season. Gonzalez, there was some talk that maybe he has a resurgent year. But as far as pure stuff goes, I still think Caleb Ferguson, when he's right, the way he can challenge hitters with that fastball in the zone. Sometimes, though, arm side command, I mean, when his command is off, it's just so poor. And then Vesia has that late life on it, but still he's someone that hasn't entered the trust, can be a big-time bit of a Vesia. And he's just not coming near that trust tree.
As the trust tree, bring it in. Give him a ding, ding. Do we have a ding? We don't. I don't think we have a ding. We got to bring a ding back. Yeah, it works. I gets the job done. I from 3 months ago, I definitely trust Alex a lot more. I trust Vessier in those spots a lot more. Like he feels it to me. It feels like he's more comfortable with that pitch clock, but he also, he has the tenacity back. He has the attack, and when his stuff is good, he doesn't always need to hit the zone. The problem is you face much better teams in the postseason. And, honestly, this is going to be kind of a litmus test this weekend or this coming weekend against the Braves. Like, I want to see him face the Braves a number of times without, giving away too much. But, they still have Eddie Rosario. He's going to be a guy, I think. Ozzie Albies will be back. You got to see what these guys can do or what he can do against those guys because, you got to win in the NLCS to play in the World Series. It's crazy how that works out. Ask the 2021 Dodgers. I had another thing about, we talked about, or I wanted to ask you, and there's an article about it on our website, DodgersNation.com. Go check it out, about, free agent, Amir Garrett's a free agent. He was released by, or I don't know if he's technically released yet, but he's going to be a free agent. He was DFA'd by the Rangers. Did he go to the Rangers? He went somewhere. Might have been Royals. I don't know, but would you at this point in time, you have to do it real quick because, September's coming up. Would you consider seeing the team take a flyer on Amir Garrett, getting him in the organization, see what he can do at AAA, really in the next 2 days?
I mean, really, it's a low-risk move. They want to go that route. It's a very Dodgers move for them to make just to get them in their system to, like you said, see what they have and really try to evaluate him to give them some depth. And if you can get him right, you can turn him to someone that can contribute. It doesn't have to be in the DS. It can be in the later rounds. If you look at some of his contact numbers, I mean, they're just not really good. I mean, if you look at the exit velocities on them, they're not good. But, I mean, the other thing, though.
Brazier wasn't good before he got
here.
I
mean, that's the thing. I mean, what you kind of want to look at with Amir Garrett is the fastball numbers, the velocity numbers. I mean, they're pretty, the first kind of rule of thumb is how does his pitch mix look? How does his velocity numbers, how does his spin rates look now compared to when he was good, right?
Yeah.
And they're really not that far off. So, I mean, when that's the case, that's when you can mix with mechanics and sequencing and certain things like that. So I'm not totally against the move. Will it happen? Like you said, time is ticking, but it does feel like a very Dodger move to do.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting, the fact that he's been in street clothes this long. He hasn't really found a team. Maybe he's being very selective and he wants to go to a contender. Maybe he's in line because he sees what the Dodgers are able to do. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be against that. I wouldn't hate the move. I think Amir Garrett, I mean, I just loved him. And the fight, right, when he tells his coach he's going to go.
Guardians released him. That's what it was. I probably should look up the exact numbers, or the exact.
Guardians have been having a quick trigger, man. I mean,
right?
They're pulling the plug, ripping the band off.
We didn't even talk about Syndergaard or Noah Syndergaard. The show's already going very long. We don't need to get much into Syndergaard, but that's funny. But yeah, I would absolutely consider. I mean, the counting stats are decent. You got 3.3 ERA with Syndergaard with that guy we're talking about, Amir Garrett. The WHIP definitely a problem, but put your faith in Mark Pryor and the pitching factory. And I would personally like to see a three lefty bullpen just in case. And this is a guy who's done it at a high level for a long time. Hothead definitely has some baggage that comes along with him, but Amir Garrett is also a fun player to watch pitch. Maybe it's too much of the same of like a Vesia type. I don't know, but hey, just do what they did with Brazier. Throw a cutter in there, call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, he's always someone that struggled with walks, right? It's always been his bugaboos, the walk rate being sky high. But look, I mean, the strikeout rate when he was at its best, you're talking about being north of 30%. At 25% this year, it's not too bad. I mean, the BABIP number is pretty consistent, right around league average. So, yeah, I mean, expected numbers aren't great. But like I said, I mean, I'm all about adding depth. And you've seen the reclamation projects have success. And usually it's not when they're coming off of injuries like Noah Syndergaard, who was a thud. Thor was a thud. But guys like Ryan Brazier, who are still their arms intact, it's just about tinkering with a few things. So, yeah, I would love to see a possible addition if they think it can help this team, or they could say, okay, we have enough of these young rookies, these young guys, these guys that are most likely to be starters for their career, but we're going to use them in different situations because we know their arm talent, they have plus arms, and that's something that's going to play up.
Yeah, Dave Luna said should have picked up Amir Garrett like yesterday. Hey, there's still time. Yeah, let them work. They're working through, Tony Gonsolin's arm falling off right now. So finally, the last two things, we're going to have it a twofer, but they're kind of the same thing. David Peralta, Jason Hayward, bit of a funk last few weeks. Did the clock strike midnight? How concerned should we be about this? Noted Dodgers expert and insider Doug McCain.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's too big of a concern. Last week, Hayward, he had 214 with a 429 OPS. If you look at Peralta, his numbers weren't great. He had 420. He hit 143. He goes 2 for 14. But I think the key word there is you're talking about 14 at bats, right? I mean, these guys aren't everyday players. They're not thrusted in these situations every single day. And I still believe that, yeah, look, these are veterans. You're talking about mid to late August. I don't think this takes away from what they've done this season. I still believe when you look at a combination of what they can do on the field and in the box and the intangible benefits of what they bring, look, I still think that they're going to have success. I've been saying all year, David Peralta is going to get a hit that's going to change a series, and it's going to be unexpected, and he's going to get a walk-off. I mean, you saw the Jackie Robinson day, he gets the walk-off after Vargas got that double, and then Outman was on base. So he got the big hit against the Arizona Diamondbacks. So he's someone that has the presence about him to say, okay, I trust him in a big spot. He's got that two-strike approach. He can get his bat on the ball. We know what Jerry Harrison Jr. likes to say, contact is king, right? He's someone you can trust in those situations, and I'm not sure they had that guy last year, right? So Hayward's the one that I think, look, I mean, he's hitting the ball so hard still. And
it's maybe more bad luck.
It's a little bad luck. And, like, if you look at his swing, too, I mean, I got to give you a lot of credit, too, because you said that Hayward was going to be a reclamation project that was going to work out. I wasn't as high on him as you were. We had people in our comments calling him hay-washed, right? They were done with him. They thought it was a lot of nothing, but he ended up being a guy that's been consistent. And if you look at highlights from yesterday versus the beginning of the year versus spring training, he has been able to keep that swing consistent. And he told us during spring training that for him is he knew that there were going to be some lulls. He knew there were going to be some slumps, and the key is just kind of minimizing those slumps. So as long as he's consistent at the plate, I don't think he's going to fall out of it. I think he's going to hit a bomb in the playoffs too. I mean, I think guys like that have been around this league for that long, you put them in the postseason, then their adrenaline level goes sky high. They all want to win not only a World Series individually, but as a group. And I think those guys are kind of, when you look at the back at this team a couple years from now, maybe Hayward's back because he's already gotten paid. Peralta's, I think, someone they can get a deal with another team. But I think they realize that this group, this nucleus, they're not going to be together for much longer, and they want to really finish on a high note, and that is win the World Series. So I think they're going to come back strong.
So not overly worried. It's
Put it out of 5.
It's a bad week, couple of weeks.
Bad couple
I
of
mean,
weeks.
you're not going to stay. I mean, James Outman had 2 terrible months and kind of came back, and now he's somewhere floating in the middle. Nice game there to end the series in Boston. So
as long as Hayward's swing doesn't get too long, he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Because before we saw him this year, I mean, that swing was longer than a CVS receipt. I mean, now he's shortened it. Now he's going for the contact, and I think he's in a much better place.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to let Doug cook, You just got to let him cook. What do you think about that?
Let him cook.
Let him cook.
That's
Hey,
crazy.
thanks for joining us. Appreciate you. You got anything in the comments exceptional? Should we move on right now? Because, again, I think we're already at like 50-some-odd minutes, and we have to talk about Cody Bellinger. So should we just dive into Cody Bellinger? I'm sure there's going to be a lot of conversation
Put
about
your Cody Bellinger thoughts in the comments.
belly thoughts. Let's talk about Cody Bellinger. So Bob Nightingale, friend of the show, put out a column in his USA Today, as they call it, and Scott Boras, super agent Satan, he had some words. He had some interesting words, and we'll say. I don't know. I don't want to say that Bellinger was shading the Dodgers too much, but he wasn't necessarily not shading the Dodgers. And a couple of things he said is like, look, I'm having fun again. Maybe that's because of the injury. Like, it sucks to play hurt. But the quote from Boris Bellinger, he was hurt, plain and simple. He had surgery, and the Dodgers asked him to play with a 35% strength deficiency, which is pulling crap out of your ass right there. But he didn't have the shoulder strength. And, he definitely didn't. But it wasn't like the Dodgers were like, you're going to play. They could have found their way around. Maybe it was rushed. It was absolutely rushed in 21, but then it continued on. But also we know, we've seen it. Players like Adrian Gonzalez back in the day, Sean Green back in the day. It takes time to come back from that shoulder surgery. So we blowing up these Bellinger comments and Boris comments a little too much, or is this really just him, Scott, putting in the early groundwork for what could be a very lucrative offseason for Cody?
This is why Scott Boras is the greatest agent of all time. He wastes no time. His job, his only job, is to build up his client. And if I was Scott Boras, if you were Scott Boras, I'd be trying to do the same thing. I think it's funny that you mentioned that number because that's what made me laugh. We're getting 35%. It's like a video game character. See 35%. Like 35. What are you talking about, right?
he had hit points.
He had 35% health left. I mean, that didn't make sense.
He had one more Hadouken left, and he was
exactly. Yeah. Finish him. Different game. They need to cross over there, but. Yeah, I think, look, what I look at,
we'll rehearse that one next time.
From those comments, though, is when he says he was deprived of the expert medical treatment. That's where I push back. Because like you mentioned, guys like Adrian Gonzalez, guys like Matt Kemp, we know the general timeline when you're coming back from shoulder surgery. You have to basically give yourself a gap year. Right? You have to wait a year to truly return. And that, if you have the best surgeon in the world, right? You have the best medical experts, you can't rush the body, right? This is not something where you're going to have a bionic arm or a bionic shoulder or anything like that. So you had to give him the time. Now, did they rush him back? I wouldn't say they did. I think when he returned, people forget too, he basically had that hairline fracture in his leg that he suffered against the A's. So was that the Dodgers' fault? No, it wasn't. No. Cody Bellinger has been a little injury prone in his career.
Like 40, 50 games for that leg fracture.
Yeah.
You know what Boris is talking about with the medical treatment or whatever is like, yeah, the lockout played a part for Cody, you know, definitely not being able to stay aboard with the team. Also played a massive part, probably more so played a massive part for Max Muncy not being able to talk because that lockout was real. And I mean, there wasn't even a lockout for between 2010 and or 2020 and 21. So I don't know what Boris is talking about there.
Yeah, I mean, look,
timeline. I don't know. We've had so many things, so many lockouts, so many pandemics, so many world-ending things in our lifetime.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think if you look at Cody Bellinger and the success he's had this year, yes, he's been really good. I'm calling him revenge bod belly, right? You break up and then you hit the gym and you go on, eat kale for like 2 years. You look really good. You're trying to make your ex jealous,
you put
right?
A lot of thought into this, huh?
Crazy. So, look, I mean, the year he's having, hitting 321, 20 home runs, a 143 weighted runs created plus defense, a +4 outs above average in center field this year, a triple, 17 steals and 20 tries. But I will say, when you look at Cody Bellinger, Scott Boras is acting like, this is the thing. This is where Scott Boras is wrong, right? Is Scott Boras is acting like it was MVP Bellinger in 2019, then injury in 2020, then now he's back to being 2019 MVP. Now, the numbers are good, but he is not 2019 MVP Belly when you look at the hard contact. I mean, if you look at the quality of contact, it's just nowhere even close to where it was. He's averaging 87.2 miles per hour off the bat. That's 4 miles slower than his MVP season. 45.6% of his batted balls, they were 95+ miles per hour in 2019. This year, he's at 30.8% in 2023. So quality of contact isn't the same as 2019. But I will say, Clint, that as far as the market that he's entering, it's a perfect situation for Cody Bellinger. Just look at what Chris Bryant got, $182 million. Brandon Nimmo, $162 million. George Springer, $150 million. Not only are there not a lot of center fielders that are available in this market, there's not a lot of hitters too. So he's really entering this market. I think teams like the Nationals, teams like even the Cubs, you can see him back there with maybe $200 million in some options. So good for Belly. He's getting paid. I'm happy for the guy.
To me, I say it's Cubs and it's Yankees. Those are going to be the primary guys. Don't sleep on a sneaky Giants. That would be ugly.
That feels
be real ugly.
I can see that.
Cody, what you got for me in the chat there, Chief?
A lot of people going in on Cody for sure. Nando390 says, Cody a crybaby like Verdugo. Raymond Rosa says, Belly getting better weed in Chi-Town. It's that simple. Boomer Assassin, Belly will get paid.
Mexico weed his ass.
Shout out to
Bobby Miller.
Boomer Assassin says, Belly will get paid, get injured, and then suck again. Some people are talking about how there's a lot of Padres talk actually.
I've seen that. Yeah, people.
Mike Saldana. I guess we'll get into that in a little bit. Mike Saldana says Cody will be great in New York. Bob D says Cody Bellinger is auditioning for the Yankees, which is ultimately where he will go. And then Mike Sodana said once again, wish Cody the best, 3 years, $74 million. And then Mike also said Cody's a little butthurt. Mike Sodana had a lot of thoughts on Cody Bellinger.
Thoughts. That's some Cody thoughts. all of my Cody thoughts happened in 2018. So you guys go back and watch all those shows.
And subscribe to the Dodgers Nation YouTube
We're giving away a Mookie Betts jersey, 70,000 subscribers. I'm guessing you guys are over here slipping because I see a super chat from my boy Seth Gribble.
Seth Gribble
Seth Gribble, $4.99.
I didn't want to ruin it the full because you guys were talking about Belly. Yeah, so I was gonna get to it.
Well, my bad.
Now you're here.
I was gonna get back
He
to
says PSA, Seth Gribble, $4.99. Thank you for the super chat. Seth says the Padres suck. Also, Brandon Lau, I think it's Brandon, right? Destroyed the Yankees. Did you see that? That was pretty dang good. If you didn't see it, go on the little thing called the Internet Machine.
He destroyed him? Did he go boom?
Ooh, Doug, we need a breakdown. What's going on? What?
I got one cooking for the Dave. I mean,
are you lying?
No, I got one.
He's like, yeah. I'm totally
where
lying.
Dave's like, F, and
whoa!
and
then he goes boom.
This is a family show.
It is.
I'll go around to saying F.
Okay.
Can't go saying F. Come
Oh
on,
man. All right. Final bit of stuff to talk. you rattled Noah Cameras over here. Final thing to talk about. I know, Doug, you wanted to talk a bit about. Listen, they're down to Tony Gonsolin. You got a month of play to go. You figure you're going to see some Pepio and your Stepio. They got about. I mean, depending on who comes back, they have like 5, 6, 7 starting pitching options to get through September. Factoring in some, what am I looking for? Factoring in time off, a little bit of not everybody overextending into September. How do you feel the pitching plan will work in September, or like what are we doing here? Like what do you think is a good plan for that? And
yeah, I think it's
I
think it's going to be a conversation that we're going to continuously go back to based on the results, based on how guys like Lance Lynn and Ryan Yarbrough continue to pitch. Because Dave Roberts said, I think anything is on the table. And in years past, we didn't really have to think too much. Walker Buehler's healthy, you give the ball to Buehler, you give the ball to Kershaw, give the ball to Urias, right? Maybe we'll have a debate about the number 4 or 5 starter if it gets to that level. But in this case, when you got guys like Julio Urias, who still has to win over a lot of fans, clearly we've seen that in the comments, that the trust level for him isn't as high as it's been. You look at Clayton Kershaw, who's still returning from an injury. He's still building his way back up to really being the Kershaw we saw before the injury. And then Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn is someone who we know that before his last start, he was outstanding, right? Someone that had taken the ball and gone deep into games, someone that you look at the strikeout rate, his ability to miss bats, that I think plays up in the postseason. He has a 2.03 ERA with the Dodgers. Last start, the home run ball started to come back and haunt him a little bit. Gave up those 2 home runs, little sinker to story.
He is a sinker ball pitcher, and he's kind of like a kind of more old school traditional sinker ball pitchers. And the old adage is don't give them rest. Dave brought that up. It's like we kind of gave him an extra day of rest, and Dave thought like that kind of got him out of his rhythm early in the game. But it was great to see Lynn lock back in, and that makes you feel good heading towards the postseason.
Yeah, and I think, too, it's like when you compare Bobby Miller to Lance Lynn, right? Bobby Miller is someone who you saw him when he was taken out of the game against the Guardians, right? He's pacing in the dugout. You see him, the beads of sweat, right? He got ice in his veins, and the ice starting to melt a little bit, right?
Bobby Ice?
Bobby Ice.
Bobby
ice,
Water?
Ice, Bobby. Ding,
Bobby
ding,
Cold
ding,
Water?
Ding. Yeah, Bobby Cold. I like that. That, to me, we can sell him on that, right? But we need big game Bobby, right? We need someone that can go out there and compete, and I think he will, but to compare that to Lance Lynn, you look at this offense and their ability to carry this team. If Lance Lynn goes out there and gives up 3 or 4 runs, that's fine because we know that he can do that and still pitch 6 or 7 innings. Where if there's an inning where Bobby Miller gives up a few home runs, maybe you start to see the wheels fall off, right? So I think Lance Lynn is still someone that's going to be solid. I think Bobby Miller, he's someone that does he run out of gas? I mean, we're pretty much at the big league level, uncharted waters with him. We need to see him continue that success, but that to me is your 4. But I also think what Dave Roberts was getting into is if you look at the guys that can possibly contribute, right? And you look at some of these younger arms. Ryan Pepio is someone who, he's unproven in the postseason, but the way he's pitching, I'd like to see him out there and get some innings of work. If you look at Emmett Sheehan is someone who explosive fastball, that to me could be a big surprise because you mentioned earlier in the show, getting out teams like the Braves is very different than getting out teams like the Rockies. When you are faced with a potent lineup, you have to bring your best arms to the table. You got to load up. And I think if you were just looking at all these guys as far as who has the best, most explosive stuff, some of these younger guys have that. So I think that there could be some piggyback options that we just don't know about, ones that are going to come as a surprise. And I think Ryan Yarbrough is going to factor in nicely. He's pitched well at 2.35 ERA and 15 1/3 innings of work. And then Walker Buehler. That's the ultimate X factor. The number one X factor for the Dodgers is, one, does Walker Buehler come back? And two, is it as a starter or as a reliever? Because if he comes out as a starter, and maybe it's a piggyback that he goes out as an opener. I mean,
the team is kind of, Dave has stayed pretty diligent in saying he's not coming back in relief. I mean, maybe they throw him just to get him on the mound late in the season, but I don't think that he's going to pitch in relief in any situation. If he's pitching for the team this year, it's going to be as a starter, or it's going to be not at all, and that's kind of the feeling I get from everything there. Dave is saying Andrew Friedman did a spot with John Heyman and Joel Sherman on the show podcast last week, and one of the things he was mentioning, it's like, look, we're not. They're, in so many words, they're not overly counting on Walker Buehler. If it happens, he's going to be the guy who kind of dictates that, his health, what the training staff, medical staff says, but they are not going to push Walker Buehler. Next season is far more important than this season. And I would argue the Tony Gonsolin injury kind of escalated that narrative a little bit more as well. Like, Buehler is more important next season than this season. You get Walker Buehler in your rotation as a number 5 guy and move Bobby Miller. I mean, your number 4 guy maybe, and move Bobby Miller into some sort of piggyback role. Maybe that's an option, but they are in a good spot. The team is in a very good spot. It's about staying healthy, and you give yourself that optionality. But to me, the most important part of September, got to stay healthy.
100%. That's the biggest thing, and I agree with you that next year is key for Walker Buehler. And if he does get
the team,
the
entire rotation,
no, for sure. I mean, it's going to be a big year, especially with, even if they get Ohtani, he's not going to be out there on the mound, right? I mean, I don't want to look that too far ahead, but you look at Buehler and what he's able to do as a pitcher. If he's healthy, if he's anywhere close to being healthy, I think it's going to be very difficult for this organization to tell him no. Yeah. I mean, he's someone that has put in the work. He already said a few weeks ago that the fact that we're even having this conversation means he's so far of expectations, and it's such a credit to his work ethic and a testament to just him as a pitcher knowing how to work this process. And I think any pitcher that's injured out there, follow the Walker Buehler method, because he's someone that has been putting in the work every single day. But yeah, I think for him, he even said too a couple weeks ago that you only get so many years to do this, so many opportunities to go out there on this mound. I think Buehler's a guy who's been on teams that have been to the World Series. I think he can smell a World Series title. We know how much he loves him some Clayton Kershaw. Do you really think he wants to go out without being in the same rotation as Clayton Kershaw?
Potentially one last time. Yeah.
Like Ferris Bueller said, life moves at you fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. I don't think he wants to miss this postseason. So
like Doug McCain says, things move quick in this office.
Things move very quick in this office, guys.
All right, let's hit center cam. Let's get a couple more comments and let's get the hell out of here. One thing I wanted to point out, and I wrote it down to make sure I didn't forget it, because somebody brought up Miguel Vargas in the comments. Ooh. And I just got to ask you, Doug. You know, this Thursday they're giving away Miguel Vargas combo James Outman bobblehead, a dual bobblehead. This could be the only Miguel Vargas Major League bobblehead that is ever produced. You going?
I'm not only going, even if I have to go as a fan, I'm going to hit Craigslist right after. I'm going to be waiting at the exits.
Does Craigslist still exist?
Does it? But I'm going to be waiting at the exit, try to buy them off of people and try to maybe get like 100 of them and have for my Christmas tree next year. Just have them as ornaments around the entire tree, have them at the top as the angel. I mean, it's a great bobblehead.
Remember,
say what you want.
Miguel Vargas has one fan. Doug is that fan.
Exactly. Hey, exactly. No, I think for...
Actually, he's doing pretty good at AAA.
I mean, he's doing good in AAA. I mean, they say that this year the disparity in AAA is as significant as it's ever been between the show in AAA. But, I mean... I think for Miguel Vargas, I definitely want that bobblehead. But hey, Clint, sorry. When you look at that
Words are hard.
When you look at that bobblehead, it's definitely, I think, one of the more accurate looking ones you've seen, right?
It looks pretty solid. They did some good work on that one for absolute sure. But Cody, we got anything else for me? Because
if he has no more fans, it means I'm dead.
They're saying Vargas got fleeced. I don't know what that. Oh,
I mean, he wasn't
and
doing
then
very
we
well.
have a super chat. Da, 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 da. DN Hall of Famer Diane Schroeder. Before we get on out of here, $5 says, sorry I was late to the party. Hope you had a great vacation, D-Max. Smash the like button for Dodgers Nation.
Loving family vacation.
Beautiful. You love to see it.
Doug McCain. Should I tell people the news? I'm not going to tell people the news yet. You gotta have to tune in this
Next
week and on
big
Monday.
news.
Big news. But guys, until then, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Please do subscribe. We did not get to Shuey levels of thumbs up on this edition of the live stream, but we also weren't pushing as hard as somebody like, let's say, Noah Cameras might have in the past, because he has no shame, and we appreciate him for that. But guys, thank you for the comments. Thank you so much for the super chats. They really do mean all the world to us. Find us on the internet at DodgersNation.com. Find us also inside the Dodgers.com. We got you covered for your Dodgers news. Like, we live and breathe and cry this stuff, sometimes quite literally. This is also a podcast. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on all of your podcast platforms. So if you can't catch us live, listen to us, get paid at work, and have us in your ear holes. Again, youtube.com/DodgersNationTV. Subscribe, 70K. We're giving away a Mookie Betts jersey. Doug will drive it to your house if you happen to live in his house, but his wife cannot win it. So, I gave away the secret. And that's about it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you on Thursday. Bye.